Welcome to Sad Boys, a podcast about feelings and other things also. I'm Jarvis.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we're joined by a very special guest. You know him, you love him. They're your favorite three letters in a row. Brian David Gilbert, BDG.
Hello. How's it going?
In that order.
In that order. The three favorite letters are BRI of Brian David Gilbert. And the rest are just throw them away.
It's cool that BDG is in alphabetical order.
It is nice.
Is that why you did
am
it?
always saying that. That's why I've rechanged my name to be this weird amalgamation of three first
Brian
names.
David Gilbert.
Yeah, it was
For a
weird.
while.
I don't know why my parents went for that, but I appreciate it
What was the
nonetheless.
catalyst to that officially becoming your brand? No more words.
Yeah, so the thing about it was that when I first started making like silly YouTube videos after college and I didn't have a job or anything, I was like, well, it could just be Brian Gilbert, which there are millions of. Also, I believe there is a British director named Brian Gilbert who made some like, I don't know, I haven't watched any of his films. On principle, I refuse to do it. I don't want to see anything by another Brian
On his
Gilbert.
behalf.
That's
so sorry.
There's a Texas state representative, House representative named Jarvis Johnson, and I refuse to read any of his bills.
Yes, yeah. You have to make sure. You have to keep that very separate. As soon as you start combining it doesn't work.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
But
There's
there's
actually a basketball player called Michael Jordan
oh yeah,
that really kind of messed with my
that
personal
destroys
brand.
your whole brand.
Made
at that point.
Jordan really hard to get.
Very
Turns out,
challenging.
rats.
Very
But
challenging.
yeah, you were saying.
Yes, but I was just when I was making it, I was like, well, I guess I could just use my full name, and I kind of thought it was funny. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I insisted on going by Brian David Gilbert, like the most formal way,
Right.
but like the videos I was making were 10 seconds long and just atrocious. And
Right.
But then after a while, I realized I was like, oh, I've locked myself into this.
Yeah.
Now this has become the brand identity of me, I guess, because when you go on the internet, you stop being a person and you start being a commodity.
Brand.
Exactly.
Yeah. It does give like Tiger Beat Teen Heartthrob.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
I appreciate that because the other one people always bring up is that it's like, oh, just like all of the serial killers that have three first names.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, well, stop. Like, I've been trying to keep that secret for as long as possible.
Yeah.
The serial
That
killer
is the thing about
aspect.
serial killers.
Yeah.
They're really shy about it.
They're trying to keep it to themselves.
Brian
Hey,
David
but-
are you taking the wings off a moth? No.
No.
come
That's
on.
just, I was just
It's a
having fun.
butterfly.
I'm not insane.
I'm not. Come on, be real.
That is a really good point. I guess that is hard to account for. A double-barreled last. Well, it's middle name, last name, right?
Middle
Yeah,
name, last name.
Middle
yeah.
name, last name first. So yeah, just Brian David Gilbert. The thing is that what's weird is that I would say more than I would expect, people come up to me and are like, hey, David, it's great to see you. And I'm like, I don't know why. No one has ever called me David. I had one situation where I was known as Brian, no last name, no middle name. That was just me. I was like working
Right.
in a situation where my name was Brian, and then it came up that I made videos. And then the next day somebody came in and was like, oh, and like, David's doing whatever on this. And I was like, you wouldn't know that unless you stalked me and then also somehow forgot all of the interactions we had prior to this moment.
Maybe like you're giving people Brian vibes sometimes. Other times
Yes.
you're giving them David vibes.
Yeah, I think, what would you consider a David vibe versus a Brian vibe?
Well, to be quite frank, you're giving off kind of a David vibe by even asking that question.
Yeah,
You're
it's
right.
a kind
That is
of
a very
David
David-y thing to
move.
do.
It's a little
And don't even get me started on the Gilbert shit you've been up to.
That's when I'm like getting wild. Is when I go into my Gilbert era.
Yeah,
and
when
that's-
your mom is mad at you for something. Gilbert?
Yep.
That's your Sasha Fierce. is
Yeah,
Gilbert.
Gilbert. When I need to go into my
Not
alternate.
Pierce at all.
It is weird because like I don't think I was a real goody two shoes growing up, so my mom never got angry at me. But I don't think I ever had like a situation where they were like, Brian David Gilbert, you come down here. But now like on the street, it is more
Right.
likely for you to call me by my full name if you don't know who I am personally. And
Yes.
if you do know who I am personally, you'll just call me Brian. And
It
like
is
that's
a
fine.
strangely like I feel naked when somebody calls me by my full name, even though that is like my stage name.
Yeah.
Like, because people will go, "Are you Jarvis Johnson?" And I'm like, I don't know why you had to say it like that.
Are
First
you
of
a
all,
cop?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. is that-
Literally.
Why? What do you know?
Do you ever have you ever been called your first and last name, or at least the stage name that people know you by?
Yeah, I've talked about it publicly recently, so I think I'm fine kind of generally saying this. So my last name is Cope, C-O-P-E. Hilarious, by the way, now in retrospect.
Cope and seeds, dude.
Thank God I stopped using it when I did.
Yeah.
My middle name is Adika.
Okay.
But yeah, if I hear Jordan Cope now, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Or it is one of the, I don't know, 10 people at Patreon that knew me as Jordan Cole.
Right.
Because eventually that became my public name because...
Yes.
I did recently accidentally call you by your normal last name in a video, and then people were like, "Did Jarvis accidentally reveal Jordan's secret name?"
Yeah.
And
Doxing. Really the worst.
And I was like, "Oh no," because I just had all this muscle memory of a different name. Because we were at my old apartment, like brainstorming new identities for Jordan when we were like trying to figure out what his like internet handle would be like online, because you want to figure out what like you want to get something where you can get it on all socials nowadays,
And then now through process of elimination, I have also revealed my entire legal name.
That's great.
When I rebrand, I'm going to use my mother's maiden name and my sort code.
It's important. I always am talking about my elementary school and my first pet's name. Those are the things that I love to discuss most importantly.
Guys, what's everybody's childhood best friend?
Yeah, just off the top of your
Just
head.
off the top of your head.
Yeah. Okay, last 4 digits of social. Let's do it all
So
together.
icebreaker, you do improv.
1, 2, 3. I really struggle with some of those. Like the street, I moved around as a kid, so the street I grew up on, but I have like the one I reference, so that's fine.
Yes.
Best friend as a child.
Oh, impossible.
It feels like I'm betraying so many possible people.
I feel like the ones that I can never, I truly, when I go through that list and they're like, first concert you went to and like these other things, and I'm like, oh, shit, I had a boring childhood, I guess. Like,
Tell us about all the cool shit you did as a kid.
God, I think the first concert I did go to, and this is why I've never used this as one of my questions, so I feel comfortable talking about this on the air, but it was an Art Garfunkel solo concert with my friend, because we were just like hanging out, and he's like, oh yeah, Art Garfunkel's coming to my local like concert hall, and I went there, and we sat in like the second row, and I was like, I know some of your music that you did with Simon. I apologize that I'm not a full Garfunkel head.
It's weird that we use his full name now.
Yeah, right?
Art Garfunkel.
Art Garfunkel.
What? Sorry, did I do something wrong? Yeah. Is this too loud? Is he British?
He gives off a very British energy. I believe he's American. But
that name should not be.
He seems
I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Arthur Garfunkel.
Truly, I think he's like 8th in line for the throne, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, it's unclear.
He's like a designated survivor.
And if all goes to shit, we bring in Art.
We roll him in.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a good question. Well, no, sorry. About the Art Garfunkel show, because
while we're on the hot topic,
this is now the topic of the podcast. No, does he do songs that he did with Simon, but just his like?
I believe he sang at least "Bridge Over Troubled Water."
Okay,
that was the one that I can remember he sang. I'm pretty sure. But also, he was also in his era of doing a lot of spoken word poetry, which was a very interesting thing. And I also, what's funny is that I had a friend of a friend who was also his tour manager at a different point in time, who ended up like.
Your life is coming full circle at this point.
Like this, that was a weird connection after, like long after it. I was like, oh, weird. That was my first concert, I guess, was Art Garfunkel.
I remember you. How old are you for the first concert?
I feel like maybe like 18. I should have had a concert before then, but it was
normalized not going to concert. I don't think I went to my first concert until I was 18.
Okay,
either.
I'm glad. Yeah. We're peas in the pod there. But it was that weird thing where it was funny because the tour manager had him come to his wedding because he was like friends with Art Garfunkel, and I'm sure I could tell this story. I'm sure it's fine. I don't care. It's fine. The important thing is that he was like, I might sing a song at your wedding, and they're like, you might sing a song, and he's like, yeah, I will think about it, and they're like, this is a wedding. Like, we have a lot of things planned.
Yeah, there's
and
like
so
planners.
My sister was like involved with the wedding, and she was like, yeah, they told us, they're like, and then maybe Art Garfunkel's gonna sing a song. We don't know at this point in the program, he might do it. And so like they get to that part of the program and everyone just kind of stops. And then Art Garfunkel stands up and they're like, oh, okay, I guess he's singing a song.
Oh.
I guess he's doing something. All right. And so he came up and he sang, and apparently it was very lovely.
He walks to the bathroom.
He left at that point.
He's singing from inside the Portaloo.
Yeah. And there was just like, oh, all right, well, we're all doing this now. All right, sounds good. But I think it was good enough for like all of the rest of the audience members who are not, directly associated with Art.
Right.
Like, oh my God, it's Art Garfunkel. He's
that was
singing
pretty
a song.
cool.
That's great.
I guess being a musical artist that's that famous and going to a wedding is like going there open carry.
Yeah,
Where it's
it's
just
just
like,
like-
at any point.
It's gonna happen. If Art Garfunkel stops, like literally right in the middle of the vows, it's like we have to let him.
We have
do
to
it.
let him
We
do
have
it.
to let him come up here. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm not. This isn't me saying that they should not be wet or whatever. I'm
No, no,
just.
no.
I want to sing.
I want
Does
to
anyone
sing
object?
now.
Not object, but I shall.
It is me. What do they sound like? That's it, right?
Yeah.
La, la, la.
Speaking of artists who collaborate, I went to a Lil Jon concert.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Which is a weird concept. I don't know if you know this, because Lil Jon is not someone you think of as being a solo artist in any regard.
Yeah, no.
He's kind of famous for just saying like things over songs and maybe producing or DJing. Unclear
Yeah.
what he does or ever did.
He does it really well. Whatever he's
Whatever
doing,
he
he
does.
does
Best that's ever
super
done it.
well.
Like, we know DJ Khaled doesn't. He's like a producer. He's like,
Yes.
he brings everybody together.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a known quantity. Lil Jon couldn't tell you what he does.
No.
But he did perform at Georgia Tech in like 2011. And
He was in a class and he just stood up.
yeah,
It's time.
It was during my final exam.
What? Okay.
They were like pencils down, and he was like, "What?" So his performance consisted of him like at a DJ booth playing songs that he is involved with, and then doing his ad libs over them.
Nice.
Which was so funny.
That's so
But
good.
It was awesome.
Also, if you sat me down and were like, Brian, imagine a Lil Jon concert right now. That would be the first thing I thought of was, okay, I guess he just says the yes on the side, and that's it.
Also, the first thing he thought of.
It worked out. But if we're all agreeing that that's what we came here for, then that's perfect.
Yeah, I think everybody was. I think when you're at that age, it's just really exciting to see a famous person.
Yeah.
And they're kind of moving around, and it's like they're real.
That's kind of the whole
Physical person.
premise of like I don't even know what to call it, but influencer boys, TikTok housing type boy live show tours,
Right.
where it's like, hey, what's up? We're going live across the country. Make sure to get your tickets now.
Yes.
It's only $17,000. If you want to see me for a second before I run away, I'm so high. And then you'll see these videos from the shows, and it's just a bunch of guys that come out and they're like, what's up?
Yeah.
It's like crowd work.
Yeah, there are
passes
definitely times when I'm like, oh, I think I'd like to try to do a live show, but like I don't know what I want. I don't like I want to make sure it's good and it's interesting and there's
Right.
like content, like the stuff that you're going to is like, oh, you've managed to make something that is worth seeing specifically in a
Right.
live setting. And then I watch those videos and I'm like, oh, I could just go on a live tour right now.
The bar is way
Yeah.
lower than you think. I think that's weirdly freeing. You know, as a creator or as a creative type, like knowing that the bar is much lower than you've put it in your head gives you a little bit more space to like fail, you know, or to try things out.
Well, I mean, it's also, it won't ding the algorithm if you go to and do a live show, or it won't be this point in your creative archive where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
an L.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's fine. As
interesting.
long as you film it and then destroy the footage after, you're fine. It doesn't have to have existed.
Count the laughs.
Yeah.
This is something that I want to get out of the way very early.
Okay.
Have you seen the cop slide incident?
I have seen the cop slide incident, yes.
Okay, so we talked.
You've done
about
your
this.
Bible study.
Yeah.
I've done my research beforehand,
So
yes.
this is one of science's newest mysteries.
Okay.
Which is, for those who haven't seen, we talked about it on the previous episode, but there was a new slide in Boston. Thank you, Anastasia. There's a
It's already great. Just looking at the slide.
it's like
the
the
slide
scene of a
itself
crime.
is a beautiful,
The slide of the slide.
So there's a new slide at a playground in Boston, and there's a video and a whole news story about an officer who went down the slide, but he came out of the slide. In short, wrong.
yes, that seems...
He came out too fast. He came out upside down than how you would normally ride on a slide. And
seemingly not making he doesn't seem to touch the slide.
No.
He looks
Yeah.
like his hitbox is like balancing on top of the slide.
It's like one of those like mag rails where it's just he was like floating in the center and no friction. He was shooting right out.
he
of
is
it.
the Shinkansen
And 5 to 12-year-olds only. But that's not stopping grown-ups from trying it out. In fact, they're flocking to it.
Grown-ups?
It was just a clip of the cop again.
They're trying to reproduce it.
Yeah.
How does a child go down that? Check out the bump on
Successfully.
this woman's head.
It was really scary. I honestly, not to sound dramatic, but I waited a few days to post the video because I wasn't fully sure that I was going to be okay.
Come
As you
on,
can see,
man.
when kids go down the slide, it seems pretty placid.
Yeah, because they weigh a lot less.
It's for children.
All right. Here's my conspiracy theory about this. All right. What happened was all of the adults watched the Tide Pod challenge and every other TikTok challenge that has hurt children, and they're like,
Right.
well, we need to figure out the thing that doesn't hurt children at all, never hurts a child,
Yeah.
but will specifically destroy you if you are over the age of 18.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful thing. It finally equalizes the playing field. I think this is great.
I
Yeah.
think, honestly, it's all good now.
Yeah.
Everything is okay.
It's all been solved. We
Maybe
figured it out.
This could be like a fancy engineering solution to prevent adults from taking up a child's spot on the side.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like when they play the frequency that only children can hear outside
Yeah.
of 7-Eleven.
Exactly. I came downstairs this morning and Anastasia and Jacob were watching a video of a physicist explaining how it could possibly have happened.
That's great.
And so I want to see, I think we have that.
Oh, I have a little fake slide set up here, and this would be like a child with a felt clothing, or could be cotton, doesn't really matter. So
Double
this
mass.
adult has twice the mass. It's actually 2 blocks, but it's the same thing. So doubling the mass doesn't change it, right? Because the frictional force depends on how hard these two surfaces are pushed together. This is a block with a Teflon base.
What?
Got it? And so the type of surface you have interacting with the slide really does matter.
It is a cop uniform nylon. Is that?
I guess so, or Teflon, or whatever
Yeah.
the equivalent. Like
They're like cops' uniforms are engineered for a maximum
Yeah.
slide. The friction coefficient is very low.
this physicist is a genius. This teacher, whatever. I think this is the best thing ever. If you are a physics teacher, you just need to go look at the dumbest videos online and then be like, okay, let's talk about how dumb this was.
literally, like,
That's so great.
Can meet people where they are.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
let's make
perfect.
it. I think that's, kudos to this. Can we shout out his name? I don't know. Rhett Elaine.
That sounds like copyright infringement.
Yeah.
That's right. Like.
Yeah. I heard Rhett and
money.
Link.
Yeah. This is their, like, when the DBZ fusion
Yeah, they-
dance,
oh,
that becomes
please.
this. It's like a weird,
Like-
there's no combination, doesn't make sense, but it is just become this physicist.
It makes them not be from the south. They gain so much power.
You said my sleeper agent code phrase, which is DBZ.
Yes.
I've been collecting. I've started a collection of Dragon Ball DVDs because I used to collect them when I was a kid, and so I've started building this collection over here.
Can you leave the couch and bring some over?
Oh,
Is that
absolutely,
not
I
allowed?
can.
Is
Absolutely, I
that
can.
break the kayfabe of this? We're all locked into our chairs and it's not allowed.
Where'd he go? We're like, we have no object permanence.
What?
My dad shaved his beard.
I've been dying to talk about this. So, sorry.
Fantastic.
So,
Oh yeah.
okay, so first let's do a little history lesson. So in the beginning, when Funimation first got the license to broadcast Dragon Ball in the States, the Funimation, which is now huge company, they're like biggest anime sort of biggest harbinger of anime in the United States.
The omen bringer of anime.
But when they started, they were just a small company in like Fort Worth, Texas, and so they didn't have their own voice cast. So they contracted this Canadian voice cast called the Ocean Group, and that for the first like 2 seasons, like sort of Saiyan Saga, Namek Saga, and DBZ, they was a different voice cast. It's Over 9,000.
Yes.
That was a voice actor named Brian Drummond, who was the original voice of Vegeta for the Ocean Group. And then when they came back around, when Funimation brought all their people in-house, I think there was some union stuff too or something. But when they brought their people in-house, they, all the voices changed. And then that's where we got the iconic Sean Schimmel as Goku versus like some dude named something Clements. I don't know. But anyway, and Christopher Sabat, who voice of Vegeta. So these Pioneer DVDs, these are the first home release of Dragon Ball with the Ocean Group on them, which is fun. They have since been redubbed because Funimation has like gone back and re-released the whole series, and they want the voice consistency.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then they also did this thing. Oh gosh. Okay, so get into it. So the Funimation's voice actors, they picked up in the middle of Namek. And they started doing voice impressions of the Ocean Group because for consistency's sake, there's people watching this on Cartoon Network. Yeah. So they wanted to make their voice sound, close-ish to the people. But then as the actors, as time went on and the actors came into their own, they had their own style, their own like more creative take on the characters. And so then they went back again and re-recorded some of those early episodes because they were doing like impressions. And fun fact, in Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta fights a clone of himself. And the clone, they got Brian Drummond, the Ocean Group voice actor, to come back and play Vegeta's clone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's fun.
And for Canadian, once you pop, you just can't stop. For Canadian viewers, though, the Ocean Group did dub most of Dragon Ball in Canada. And so there is a separate full dub with the Ocean Group. But,
they're all French.
That's amazing.
Okay,
that's great. I will say that you live in New York or LA, you're going to see some celebs and whatever. I don't think I get starstruck very often, but the closest I got to it was I just like went to a random mall one day when we first moved here, and at I believe the Funko store, the Funko Pop store, there was a huge line, and I was like, oh, this can't be important. And then it was Vegeta's voice actor there, and I was like, am I gonna buy a Funko Pop?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is the first time I've actively thought about ever buying, like, of my own volition, purchasing a Funko Pop just so I can go see the guy who voices Vegeta.
Being like, another for my collection.
Yes, I must collect these.
So, Demon Slayer.
One cool thing about Christopher R. Sabat is that he started as like a lowly voice actor, and then he like became like a producer, like in the booth, like doing I don't know what the job is called, but when you're behind the booth with the voice actors doing direction.
Yeah, I think director.
Voice direction or something like that, director. And then now he's like super high up in Funimation because he's been there for like 20 years. And then I'll wrap this up by saying a lot of these you can find for like kind of cheap, but it's hard to collect the whole set. So, but these are the later DVDs. These are like things I grew up with. And I used to collect them as a child or as a teenager. I would go on eBay and I would find these for like $5. And
Too old for the slide. 13 and up.
13 and up, not allowed. Yeah, that's great.
So some of these are still sealed, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. That's incredible. I think I fell off somewhere in the Boo saga.
Hey,
I want to
that's
say,
okay.
but I was there for all of Cell and Frieza, and I'd say enough that I can talk about DBZ for hours if need be.
Well, it's like a peculiar point in time where it's not so much lost media, but it felt so ephemeral because you would tune in and like hopefully you didn't miss an episode. Or, especially in the UK, that was never a consistent time. It was one of the loop shows. So, Thursday's playing a Cell episode, but Wednesday was playing a Saints.
Oh my God.
And my child brain was like, I guess they just
it's all the
wrapped
same.
it up off camera.
It must be.
So I'm glad they won.
It even gets crazier with the DVD releases because Cell was the last thing to come out on DVD. And so when I was a kid, I got one of those Kid Boo, like one of the like last episodes of the series on DVD with like a DVD player as like a Christmas or birthday gift or something. And I wasn't sure when I would see that on TV, but you were putting together the pieces. And as a kid, that kind of added to it.
Yeah, I think there was a fun little mystique about it because also you had like, that was still the era where my older brother's friends would be like, well, I heard they went to Super Saiyan 8 last set. And I was like, no, but they haven't even gone to Super Saiyan 3. What are you talking about? That's not. He's like, well, I saw it because my uncle works at whatever. And like,
my uncle is Majin Buu.
My uncle Piccolo made sure that I could watch the new thing.
So far as I was like young enough at one point where they were just saying that, Kaioken was real. And I was just like, I guess. Yeah. You're older. You're a year and a half older. You would know.
Thousands of videos of children trying to go Super Saiyan, and it's one of the most wholesome things you'll ever see.
I've like there's a video. I have a collection of videos that are all like below 10,000 views that I really appreciate and care a lot about. And one of them is of a kid explaining his power level and how he's calculated it. And it's the best thing I've ever seen, because he's like, well, what you have to do is you have to like multiply your push-ups by this. And I was like, that's the exact thing I would do if I was that kid. Like, that's 100% what I was doing, was like trying to figure out, being like, yeah, well, if I'm talking about power level, I definitely need to make sure that I'm like seeing how many swings I can do on the swing set. And like, it's so but I just love to see any sort of like random weird small video where it's just like you can tell how passionate whatever this person is.
Passion driven, but also deadly sincere.
Yes.
No
passion,
no like pseudo irony about it.
So such a beautiful thing.
I don't even want to like push people to it, because I'm just cautious of sending like whoever, and we'd have to look at the channels we don't remember. But while we were at VidCon, was it you that stumbled across it, or was it Danny and Drew and then we watched it later? Stumbled across a Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers cosplayer.
Yeah.
Who
I think I found it, but then it was 40 minutes long, and I was the one who was like, hold. Let's keep watching. So we got an Airbnb, because at VidCon there's like a lot of hustle and bustle, and we're all in the hotels, which is nice, but there's nowhere you can chill. And so we just got an Airbnb like in the neighborhood, and could just like sit on the couch and like watch TV, chill out, decompress. And there were two things from we were logged into someone else's YouTube, and that is like a treasure trove of like, what is this person like?
Yes.
And the first thing we watched was Ninja Kids, which is it's like a family channel type thing where the kids are all gymnasts, and they're incredibly skilled at doing backflips and things.
Amazing.
And like ninjas, so to speak. And they do these act outs of like stories. They did a Power Rangers inspired story where they were wearing the costumes. They were completely infringing on all of the copyright.
inspired is pretty charitable.
Yeah. All the characters were the same names.
Bulk and Skull are just in it.
Bulk and Skull are in it. Even Bulk and Skull are in it. And so then from that, because the YouTube algorithm is a beautiful, glorious beast, recommended a guy trying on a $2,000 Etsy recreation Mighty Morphin Power Rangers costume.
Which from bespoke order took...
It took like 5 years.
5
Whoa.
Because of the pandemic, this like builder, the person who created the costume,
Zordon was killed by COVID.
They got super behind, and so they were like reviewing it after 5 years of waiting. And so you watch them unbox it, and it looks like the quality is incredible. Like it looks like it was on the TV show, and that like. There's still a part of my brain that's like, I need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Me in 5 years needs this.
But then what happens is that he puts on the mask or the helmet, and he's like, it's a little hard to see. It's a little hard to see in here. And it's a little hard to breathe. So then the rest of the video is him like clearly disappointed. But he can't let it show.
Yeah.
And so
this is like minute 6 of
already crushing.
And so a large portion of the video is him doing poses and fighting stances in his hallway.
Yes.
And then every time he resets, he clearly goes like it's like the I think you should leave sketch where I got too much shit on me. He goes and he like looks off.
I don't even want to be around anymore.
And then he's like
he keeps it in.
Oh man.
Okay. I think for the bonus, I do not know if we'll show it on screen, because again, I would be heartbroken if this person got any sort of like harassment.
Of course.
But I will show it to you.
Okay, that's good.
I will show it to you.
I will get to watch it. It'll be a reaction video, but with nothing in the corner.
And we'll just be describing it
in the reflection of your glasses.
Yeah. The people are just like zooming enhanced just so they can figure out the title.
Computer, activate David. Not Brian.
So Brian, one of the things that I don't know if I've ever gotten a chance to talk to you about it, but I was a huge fan of Unraveled.
Thank you.
Yeah, I so like, and that was where I think you first entered my radar.
I was literally pitching it to my partner last night, and I was like, "No, he read all of Halo.
Yeah, he read all the Halo novels.
Like, does he like Halo?
I will say I'm now out of date with that. I think there've been 2 or 3 more since then, so I'm no longer the true like locked in lore understander.
They've got to add.
I guess we don't like Unraveled.
They've got to add patches to YouTube videos.
Yes, hop in for those bits.
Yeah, you get the DLC.
Yeah.
Old reply style videos from old YouTube.
Yeah.
Reply me.
That should be allowed because you're never going to want to update something for just the tiny update. No. But there's no place to put it because you also don't want to destroy the algorithm or whatever by putting out a weird partial thing.
Super fans. Ultra fans.
Super fans, big fans of that stuff. Are you proud of that work?
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
I think that's I think I had a lot of people when I left Polygon being like, oh, he must have hated Unraveled. Like, oh, that must have been the thing that's why he's left. And it's like, that's not why. I don't think like, were there times that I got frustrated? Yeah, that's work. Because that's the thing is that every job has things that you're frustrated by. But like specifically Unraveled, like I am still very proud of the things that I made. And like, you know, it's always that weird thing where I think most people know me from Unraveled. Most people do. And so a lot of people think that I am that Brian,
right?
Which is very much a different character as a person, right? And so I do sometimes feel like I'm disappointing when I'm like talking to people and they're like, oh, and so do you want to talk about Halo? And it's like, I haven't read those books, I haven't talked about them, I haven't played a Halo game still. Like I cared about it and I like put a lot of effort into it, but it's also like that was the thing that I was doing for work, and then I went home and didn't want to do that anymore because I was doing the
natural course of things too. But that's with anything. It's like you spend so much time with something, you know, even if it was a labor of love, there is like when you pollute your work with something that you're passionate about, you can sometimes need space to not like hate the thing.
It's a labor of work. Yeah, you are labor of love. Right?
Yeah, when you're and like at Polygon, I realized like maybe a year and a half in, I was like, why am I continuously being drawn to games that look really bad? And that was like somewhere in the mid time of me working at Polygon. I was like, when I go home, I play video games that are bad to look at, or you know, like nice to look at, but don't make good videos. Right. And that was the thing, is that I was like, oh, I'm protecting myself so I can have this game that can be the thing that I enjoy. Because like when I first went and I had my interview, like my final interview with Polygon, Chris Grant, who was at the time the editor-in-chief, was like, oh, cool. And so like we had a good interview, and then he was like, oh, and so like, you know, outside of making videos and playing music and playing video games, what are your hobbies? And I was like, I have to have more than those things. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, you know, I used to rock climb a lot, and I haven't been able to since I just moved to New York, but I'm thinking about getting back into it, and so that's going to be my hobby. But that moment where they're like, yeah, that's those 3 things that you love doing that you now do for work. It's like, so what else do you have? And it's like, I don't have anything.
Do you have a way to fill your time while you don't have to analyze things critically? Something to not think about while your eyes are wide open trying to go to sleep?
I get that question.
What are those clowns on your wall?
Yeah, I get that question also, and I never have a good answer for it because the stuff I do outside of work is like trying to relax and then also just like spend time with people who I care about, you know, because it's easy to spend so much time working, and I love the work that I do, but also I try to, you know, it's like the Dragon Ball Z collection thing is never something that's going to be in a video.
Yes.
It's really just like reconnecting.
Except for like, right now in this specific podcast.
This is the greatest thing where I can forget the cameras are here, and I just like, I just need to talk about this.
I mean, Sad Boys is specifically the outlet for, I just love, me and Jarvis are better friends for doing Sad Boys, I think. Like we grow closer by doing the show. Yeah. Because it's also what we talk about. And I think Sad Boys, labor of love and work, certainly. But it does have that hybrid effect of being pretty rejuvenating as well. Yeah. Like, you know, it's still a couple hours recording. I go home a little burned. I'll take some time, maybe do some more work. But that, like, if I stream or I'm reviewing an edit, recording another video, getting an ad ready, something like that, there's a net tiredness. Yes. There's a net drain. Yeah. And I think when you set your own metrics of success, which we have to do, there is no third party doing that.
Yeah.
Which ultimately is great. It's nice to be not to get to be your own bosses. You're also the meanest, least compromising boss that you can possibly have.
For sure.
And I don't think it's any kind of grand secret that creative stuff burns.
It
right?
definitely that I think like I finally
Champagne problems,
have
No, certainly.
a hobby that is unmonetizable, and it's great. And I am like, I go and I throw pottery, and like I'm bad at it, which is the best thing in the world. It's the first thing that I've ever been like actively bad at the very beginning, and been like, I still want to keep doing this. And like that was, I think, so much in my life has always been like, if I try something and I'm not immediately great at it, I'm never going to touch it again. Right. And like, it's so easy to, there's so many things you can be doing that it's just like, well, if I'm stuck at this, I'll just quit it immediately. Who cares? I'm done. But like, that was the first thing that I ever did. And I was like, I'm so bad at this. This is actively hard. But like when I go in, maybe it's the fact that like, hands covered in clay, I can't think about anything else. I can't touch my phone. Also, I'm so focused on trying to be better that I'm like, I can't do anything else with my brain. And it's like the best thing ever. And I'm so happy. It feels like I am now like monetizing it because I've talked about it and like this thing, or I've talked about it in separate places where I also like, it's just nice to have that other thing that I know I'm never going to open an Etsy shop and sell my pots. Like I'm never going to do that. Maybe if you're a friend of mine, I'll give you one, or that's it, but that's the extent of it. It's so nice.
How did that get in your ecosystem?
It was something that I like had thought about for a while when I was growing up, and like I after college, when I was truly just like out of a job, had nothing else, the first time I did get a job, I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend this money and I'm going to go do a different class of something. So that I was in Baltimore when I first started throwing, and I was again just trash at it, but it was still like the thing where I had to force myself to leave the house and go to this other place and do it. And then when I was in New York, there was a little gap, and then I got back into it, and then the pandemic happened right as I felt like I was starting to get good at it, and I was like, well, I can't do this anymore because I live in an apartment in New York, and this is the messiest possible hobby you could ever have. And then when we moved out here, I found another place, and I was like, oh, you know what, this is the thing I'm going to spend my money on, is like going to classes and doing these things. And it's also really great because like most of the people in the like clay studio tend to be like older people who are retired and just want to like throw. And then there's like some people who are just incredible artists.
That's annoying, isn't it?
It's both like really cool to like walk by them and be like, I could never do that. But like try to learn a little bit of something as you're watching someone else do it. But it's very just like, I get to go here and I'm just like a random dude, and there's nothing, and no one's like coming over and being like, shoddy workmanship. I don't think that will sell very well. It's like, no, I just get to throw my shitty little mug and then maybe use it later. And it's great.
And you can go by Brian and no one's going to be Brian David Gilbert.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Making bad pottery.
How dare you? But it's been great.
Is throwing explicitly the pump and the little spinner?
The wheel, yeah. So I mean, I don't have to. It's not the old timey pumping. It's there's just a little pedal that you press down, but it's the spinny one.
Oh,
which
that's
is fun.
cool.
That's cheating. It's great. It's a great hobby to learn patience, because you can screw up your stuff at every single step of it, and everyone's like, oh, and this is the hardest part, and this is the part where people tend to screw it all up, and it's like, oh, you've said that about every step of the process so far.
Interesting. I think the part about the phone is probably, but not to be like Black Mirror. What if your phone was your dad or whatever? What if your phone had to hit you with a car?
Yes.
But there is I don't know, like I used to swimming was like the athletic thing that I did in like school and college, and I was insane, because I was unmedicated and myself. And as a result, I was like, I would be very hypomanic for extended periods of time on and off, and have, just make a whole roast chicken, eat that, play Dark Souls, not do my essay, sleep at 11 a.m., wake up at 8 p.m., go swimming. And swimming was the only thing I seemed to keep doing. And for a long time, I'm like, oh, I must just like really, really, really like swimming. And I do, but I don't think for the same kind of serotonin rush, dopamine dump that a lot of people enjoy out of working out and the like, because the gym gives me that. Swimming is so isolating. You you can't even engage with ambient noise. You can't sit there and like even the splashing or is all you can have.
Yeah.
It's like shower thoughts, but you don't have time to dwell on the negative ones.
Yes.
Be like, and then I would have said this. Because instead it's like, and then all right, I gotta stop. I'm like running out of breath.
Yeah, I gotta take another breath, go back under. Yeah, that's definitely, I think that it's, at some point it feels sad the amount of times that I'm like, I gotta find hobbies that mean that I can't look at other shit. Like I gotta make sure that I am looking at just whatever I'm doing. But it also, I think that there's a lot of times that you do need to force yourself to do that otherwise, because there have been other hobbies I also love to like sew and stuff, and those are great, but it also is like I'm at home, and there's always that feeling of like, well, I guess I could be doing something else. I could be editing something, or I could be like trying to make this other thing, and having to go to a separate place and get
going
your
to a
hands
separate
super
place
dirty is like
going to a
very
separate
helpful.
place is huge.
None of the stimuli reminding you of work, and they're like, I mean, we were just in Canada for a few days.
Yeah.
We had like a chill time just hanging out in the hotel, but
So
like
chill. So many Kit Kats. Ate a lot of Kit Kats.
Oh, Brian.
Good Kit Kats.
Different Kit Kat.
Different.
Oh.
It's different. I don't know if it's the
British.
supply
Is it-
chain
Is
thing.
because I obviously know like Japanese Kit Kats
Yeah.
are way above
These
American
are just
Kit Kats.
standard
These are-
ass Kit Kats, but it's I think it's a chocolate thing. Like
Oh.
the supply chain. I think it's previously Jordan identified them as being closer to European.
All right. I know I had, when I was studying in Edinburgh for a year, and I had a bunch of friends who would always be like, I tried a Hershey chocolate and it was like chalk. And I was
Yeah.
like, you're right, but also I don't like the connotation
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Also, I don't know who you are. Let go of me.
Please leave. I don't know.
Just a random
Who are
band.
you? You just heard I had an American accent. I don't.
What is Unraveled? Why do you know about that here in the past?
But no, I've heard better chocolates.
But yeah, we were
general.
just chilling, and it was just nice to get I think jumping back a little bit to, you were working at this large company or extension of an even larger company, where I'm sure there's a lot of red tape, but it's like the cons of like a large organization is there's a lot of red tape. It's hard to move quickly.
Yeah.
But the pros are there's a lot of infrastructure, there's a lot of support, there's health insurance. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And also there's someone you're accountable to that is like, it almost feels like you're in school where you want to get a good grade. Because you're getting I don't know if this is for your case, but for our case, it's like you're getting performance reviews and things like that. And transitioning, for us, and I'll speak for myself, for me, from working where I felt like I was a good little worker bee to being my own boss was very difficult.
Yeah.
What was that transition like for you?
It was very difficult. I think that like the thing that it's not a joke. Whenever I say I'm like it's like a half a joke when I'm like the two best things that I got at Polygon were one, meeting my fiance Karen, and then two, watching a union get formed, because that was it's so pivotal to like I can't imagine what I would be like if I wasn't there as the union was getting made, because like that was the thing that I think I was saddest to leave when I did leave Polygon, was because like it's very funny to talk about any corporation, especially in these times of multiple strikes in Hollywood, and like how unions in general, I would say that they are a very big bonus for the company that has been so actively trying to not have the union form. Because whenever people are like, oh, would it be cool to work at Vox Media in general? I'm like, yeah, they have a great union. And that's why you should go work there.
Right.
That's specifically the thing that makes it good. And so like the health insurance, the like parental
There's
leave that they have now,
protections.
there's
Yeah,
a bunch of great
Yeah.
stuff that they have now. And I think that was like I guess I'm getting a little off topic in terms of like becoming my own boss, but
No.
I think something that really drained me toward the end of my work at Polygon was that I had a boss, not specifically from Polygon, but like in the Vox Media umbrella, talking to us about like somebody in our group had a question about like promotions and like how you rise up through the air through this like weird media landscape. And point blank, they were like, well, the two main ways that you can get a raise or become a higher tier is by either becoming a manager or becoming internet famous. And those are the two things. And I think that was like,
we are not here for you.
yeah, it was like such I knew it obviously beforehand, but hearing it point blank said that way, I was just like, you are, first off, a lot of people shouldn't be managers. A lot of people don't have that skill set. And if you are an incredible writer, you might not be a good manager. I know personally, I would be a terrible manager. I think I make okay stuff. But if I were to be like, okay, well, I need to move up the ranks, I guess I have to become head of video or whatever.
It's also a skill. It's a separate skill set that you have to have a desire to learn.
Yeah, you have to be internet famous or get really good at pottery.
Yes,
it's
those
a
are the two
completely different thing.
Exactly.
Like I was a manager, I was an engineering manager at Patreon my last year there, and I fortunately had like a lot of good mentorship and a lot of kind of guardrails and people in my corner with support. And then I also took a lot of seminars, and I read management books, and I had the like VP of engineering that I was like checking in with, and had people that I could ask questions about, because at the end of the day I was responsible for people's careers, and that's like a huge weight.
Yeah.
It feels nice too to be the it's not a direct comparison, but in the same way that we're saying, like, it's satisfying at school to have clear boundaries and goals set so that when you hit those goals and they're achievable, you feel satisfied. Being the goal setter can be nice, and being the person responsible for someone feeling fulfilled is nice.
Also, if you're internet famous, you don't need the corporation.
That's the other thing.
Now they're extracting all of this excess value that you're producing.
Yeah, it's independently wealthy.
Yeah, like the thing that I think, I mean, it's, you see it again and again with like the BuzzFeeds and the Vox Medias and the stuff, is like as soon as you become a certain level, the company doesn't do a thing for you anymore. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, like, I won't say her name, but a good friend of mine at Polygon worked on guides at Polygon. And her, at least when I left, her guide for Animal Crossing paintings was the #1 most viewed of all time across all of the Vox Media platforms, across Eater, across Vox, across like Verge. It was the #1 viewed thing, and like her single job there bankrolled all of us, basically. That like all of the guides that she did, all of the rest of the guides. And like I also know, then the reason I'm not like trying to speak about any specific person is that I knew a lot of guides writers who didn't want to be known on the internet, because especially in a video game space, you are very much a lightning rod, especially if you're a woman, especially if you are a person of color. Like so many things, if you are working in the video game space and you are doing this stuff, you don't want your face to be out there. You don't want that. Like, we understand that. And so
there's a lot of even people in development who are very, like, despite the fact that they are artists, are like proactively decentralizing themselves as we are Sony Santa Monica. We are not people that work there. We are in monolith because we don't want to get yelled at for feeling.
Or like you still see stuff like with like CD Projekt Red and stuff, like where like something will go wrong, or people won't, like, at the end of the day, people will not be satisfied with their entertainment product, and they will harass human beings that were just doing their job. You know, it's like never any individual's fault. Like a team is working in concert to like build something, but then there's a narrative that kind of catches some sort of viral fire that like some person or something is like the fault. And then it's a disaster. Yeah.
And so like in those situations, I, not only fully understood those guide writers who didn't want their faces and names to be known, but I also, like, in that same vein, it was actively hurting their career, because the way that you move up in the business is by being internet famous or being a manager. And that's neither of those things, even though they're, like the entire guides group, like, truly not the people that you might think of if you know of Polygon or anything, but the backbone of the whole system, right? And like, they shouldn't necessarily be managers because they're so good at writing guides, right? Like, that's the thing that they're great at. And they are earning all of this money for the company.
And they want to do that.
And they want to do that. And it's like, that's their skill set. They're very good at it. Why can't you give them a raise? Like, why can't you see that is enough of it? Like, that being good at one thing should be enough, is my opinion.
It's been so unsupported that I'm only right now realizing what a cash cow that service is. I've always been involved in and loved games media, and I'm only right now going like, oh wait, shit, that's so much money.
Guides
that's
is
so
the
important.
biggest thing. Yeah, truly.
Yeah, this problem exists in a number of industries, and it definitely exists in tech, which I know about because I was a part of it. But only recently have I seen tides shifting more towards people who, there's this term IC, or individual contributor, which is distinct from a manager, right? And so I think that there's this kind of old hat view, which is what you're describing, where there's this ceiling of how high you can reach as an IC. And one of my really good friends, I was talking about him before the show, one of my childhood friends, one of the smartest people I know, would trust him to solve any problem. You know what I mean? He's a person I'd want in my corner. Really just wants to do his job and be really good at it. And wants to, he's had one-on-ones with his manager where they're like, what are your career goals? And he's like, I just want to do, I don't want to grow the way you want me to grow. Yeah. I don't want to be these other things. I want to just do my thing.
Mastery, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that should be enough. Yeah. And it's so, I think it requires a bit of a shift in thinking that it's going to take time, industries for industries to on the whole, recognize this.
Mm-hmm. I think in the, if I'm going to blow it out to all labor in general, I think that there are two extremes that most executives want to push people, and they are either to basically, you work at the Ford factory and all you do is screw in this screw, and that's all you do, and it's you never learn to build the car.
The Apple model, famously, so it's very isolated.
Exactly, you never learn a skill, you just are doing the one thing that you do really well, and that's all it is. Okay, and then I think on the opposite end we have a lot of media and even just existing as an internet creator, which is you have to be good at every aspect of it. Mm-hmm. This is, and I think that was a thing, especially in a lot of New York media, was oh, well, why would we hire a lighting person and a camera person when we could hire one person who is kind of good at lighting and has turned on a camera before and also can host it, because then we just have to pay one salary.
We pay them the rate of any of those individuals.
Exactly, just the one thing. And as a result, I think I've said this before, but there was a time at Polygon you can watch the videos change because there was a moment when an actual lighting person who worked at Vox Media came and gave us all a workshop on how to use the lights, and then the videos look way better after that point. And it was just this is such a simple thing that it feels very much that in the current economic world we live in, you have to be a jack of all trades, not because that's what you should be, but because it's easier to pay one person one salary, as opposed to being we could get 3, 4, 5 people and make this something really good. It's just
people don't appreciate. I think the further you are from the craft, the less you appreciate craft. I remember there was an understandably very protagonist-y energy at film school, where 90% of people that joined were I'm writer-director as the thing. Obviously, that's the main guy.
Yeah, protagonist energy.
And then we get to the final year and we realize that all of the most effective roles are the craft people, the quote below the line, always the most sickening term, because they have to master something that you don't intuitively know how to do. Yeah. Maybe if you have Riz, you can do executive producing or directing, but there is nothing a product will be dog shit if the audio is bad. That's it. There is no audio bothers, really bad audio bothers people, bad visuals don't bother people as much. Yeah. Bad lighting confuses people because there's a cinematic language to the visuals. It can even look, I can't watch Ted Lasso because the lensing is so fucked up.
I have not watched, but I've seen at least clips of it.
It gives me vertigo. It's just so, it's just so wonky. Everything's got the most bokeh ever, and I can understand an executive looking at it and saying, "Well, this is so high fidelity. Look how much cinematography is in it. There's so much lensing."
Yeah.
If you are ever interested in a real wild documentary that Disney put out, I think, to make them look good, but definitely makes them look the opposite. You should watch the Frozen 2 making of documentary. This was suggested to me by a friend, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch like a 6-part miniseries about Frozen 2. And then I watched the first episode and was like, I guess I'm watching it, because like the way that they run it is so business that it like doesn't. I understand why Frozen 2 is the way that it is, which is, you know, fine. It's okay. It's great. And there's a lot of incredible artists who worked on it, right? Really, really fantastic people who worked on it. But also there is this like one scene that I can't stop thinking about, which is like midway through, like a couple years before it's supposed to come out, they invite basically every director who's ever directed a Disney movie to come in and watch the animatic of it that they have. And then they do a big, like 4-hour long workshop with all of the directors giving notes on this thing. Okay. And so like, even assuming like these are great directors, these are people who've produced a lot of good stuff, but it's like, this is just a hodgepodge of people. It's like you're bringing in 80 people to talk about a single thing that doesn't even have a direction at that point in time. Okay?
It's like the definition of design by committee.
Exactly. It's truly just like, and every other aspect of it, there's some even wilder stuff that happens. But like watching that was such an eye-opening experience in terms of like, oh, I see that some of these executives are asking the animators to be like, oh, could you fully animate that for me before I sign off on it? And then they'd watch the fully animated thing and be like, actually, I don't like it like that. And then it's gone. And it's like, a person with imagination should be able to look at the animatic and not ask someone to do 20 hours of work and then be able to say, hey, you know what? I think this feels a little wrong here. Like you should have that base knowledge in that point. So that way you're as someone who like, not to boil it down too much, but also to boil it down too much. It's like you put something in front of someone with no imagination and they're going to see it exactly as it is. As opposed to, and they're like, well, why is the lighting wrong? It's like, we didn't put in the lighting yet. We were just showing you the character animation. That's all.
The movie's so short.
This doesn't have any color in it.
I don't get it. What's going on
Why
here?
is it not colored?
Where's Olaf?
And I think if we're going to talk about animation and also that kind of thing, if we want to talk about, I was talking about doing all of the jobs that you can do. Specifically, so right now, Writers Guild is on strike. SAG-AFTRA is on strike. Okay. Something that isn't on strike is the Animation Guild, which is part of IATSE, which is a very overarching union, takes care of all of the crew and everything else. But what's fun about them is that the Animation Guild, like, they don't count as writers, so they can still keep producing their own stuff right now, right? And it's not scabbing, and it's fine. It's a totally different union. But like the way that so many storyboard written shows or storyboard driven shows for animation work is that it's like the writers are the ones who are also drawing the pictures for the storyboards, and then they are usually involved in other parts of the process too. Which means that these storyboarders are writers, and they're also artists, and they're also directors because they are figuring out the framing of all the shots, and they're also lighting designers because they're figuring out where the lighting's going to be in all of those shots, and they're also like comedians usually, and there's a bunch of other stuff, but it's like that doesn't count as writing. That's not writing, and also they never get like writing credit or like I could be speaking wrong, but I'm fairly certain there's not the same sort of residuals process for the animation. And so it's just a lot of like, that can come down to the fact that a lot of execs are like, well, animation, that's not real art. Like that's not, you're not a real writer if you take your little cartoon boys and you make them kiss. It's not real. Like you are only a real writer if you work on NCIS Memphis or whatever, right? Like
we actually have a little game that we've been playing where we try to guess which isn't a real show. You should pull up the one we did last week for Brian, just because it's a hoot. But yeah, I think you raise a really good point. I mean, even when like in the 90s when like The Simpsons and then like late 90s when Family Guy started to come around or in South Park and stuff, it's like, no. It's animation, but get this, for adults. What the hell?
Yes. And I think there are some animated shows. I think Family Guy is a WGA show, which I think is usually just a result of like whoever's the head being like, this is a WGA show, and I'm not going to budge on that. And they're like, well, okay, you're the guy, so I guess I got to do it.
And you kind of need, it's almost like where we're like, please, Bill Gates, solve the world's problems. Where it's like, please, Seth MacFarlane, like, be a good guy, you know, like, be a homie, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess
solidarity.
Probably also depends how much you are in traditional media before you pivot. Like Seth MacFarlane, very explicitly an actor, writer, and director prior to making.
Yeah.
The most sick and twisted sense of humor. It's like the Joker made a show?
Yeah.
What the heck?
I know we've got a pretty dark and twisted sense of humor here on Sad Boys, so not everybody gets it.
Yeah, you watched Top 15 Darkest Stewie Moments?
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Four.
My favorite
watch
of all
Mojo.
of them.
Top 15.
Jumping back, one real quick thing before we jump to the our little game. Now we're gonna put on you.
Can't wait.
Is the jack of all trades, like master of none approach is like, if you're an individual, if you're like a young, you know, you're in high school going into college, or maybe you're not going to college, you want to go into a trade, there is value in having like those skills. And if you can work at a company to hone those skills, you should always be looking at like, what can a company do for you, for your own selfish goals, because the company is never going to value like
They just don't care at all.
But they just aren't gonna like, they're not gonna give a shit about you. You have to glean as much value as you can because you're already being extracted for your value.
They not to be overly cynical about it, but that is just a material reality of anyone in an executive position, because 99% of the time it's through nepotism or being enough of a sociopath to screw over anybody that would have changed that.
Right. Because the other thing you were saying about like, oh yeah, become internet famous or become a manager, it's a little bit like the just be president. Like you have to be like you have to have a certain thing wrong with your brain to like want to gather and have as much power as possible.
Yes. Yeah.
And people who aren't wired that way are like at a disadvantage in these organizations, because there's a strong bias in meetings for people who are loud and can take up all the space, and you know, like there's not a good well-rounded balance for people who communicate differently. There's just so many situations and flaws.
Yeah.
I think sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, you're right, there's like such value to being able to know as much as you can about as much as you can, especially if you want to do like film stuff or anything related to it. It's good to like have even if you are never going to touch lighting, it's good to be able to speak the language, so that way you can like talk about it to whoever you're working with or
to
whatever.
ask questions of someone that does know better than
exactly, right? But I also think that like in the same vein, extracting as much as you can from that, like do that, and also figure out what it is of the process that you actually like. Because like for me, working at Polygon, what really like led me to it was, I was like, oh, the thing that I love is writing. The thing that I love doing is getting to write these scripts. And like, you know, since moving out here, and my partner and I write and stuff, and like it's both very confirming. Like when we've gotten to write on stuff, I've left and I've been like, oh, I'm so excited, like this is the best, and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm just so pumped. And then like, you know, in the gaps between jobs, I'm like, oh, everything sucks. I'm gonna go die, I guess now. But like that feeling of realizing, like at a certain point, it was not the being on camera, it was not the like watching views go up. The thing that I really loved was writing and like making it, and like that was so helpful to me, and it's still something that I'm grappling with as I go. But it's just like, once I figured that out, and I was like, oh, this, I don't need the outside validation as much. I still need enough of it because we're all broken inside. But I gained so much joy from the process of making it that it's like, that's the thing that I know I can always come back to and actually enjoy. Yeah.
And one of the best things you can get out of a job or a workspace is if it's almost like a sponsored learning, like in the best case scenario, in the worst case scenario, you're being extracted for your labor and you don't have any agency or any time to do the things you love. And in the best case scenario, you found yourself fortunately in a position where you can hone skills that you want to hone, or learn what you like and be sort of funded in doing that, and have like a bit of a safety net.
Do you explicitly
for that
identify as a writer right now? Is there...
I don't know. It's that weird sort of transitional period where also right now there's a writer strike. So, you know, it's kind of hard to be like, yes, I'm a writer for, like, I am so grateful that I'm
mainly pottery.
I'm really more of a potter these days. So I'm doing the Seth Rogen route of getting through to writing just so I can start selling my pottery online. But no, I think that like, in the best times, I now don't feel as weird when I say I'm a writer, which I think is a very hard thing to get through. When I getting to that point is next to impossible, right? Yeah. But I also am so grateful that I have like the other videos that I get to make and the Patreon I have and stuff where I'm able to, in a strike, still pay rent, right? Like those, I also fully I want to say I'm a writer, and at some point maybe I will not make as many videos and I'll be able to just do that as like my full-time job, and that'd be great. But I also like am so grateful that I am still a weird internet content creator. That
I mean, I think that is one of the great privileges that we have, I think, at this point in our careers, is some of that agency to kind of follow your curiosity and still have, like, look, this all burns down, I still can be a software engineer. I still got that computer science degree, gathering dust. But
I mean, it's nice to have like space for fucking up, like to explicitly miss the goals that you set for yourself, or even that, I don't know, the very reasonable expectations you have for what you should be putting out, especially like under contracted work, right? Because there is that safety net. And I, you know, without naming names, none of them are like close friends of ours, but we, through doing partnership stuff at Patreon especially, a lot of the creators that I knew, not as peers, but as clients or as partners, or more often creators that were like 3 steps away from the agent that introduced us or something like that. I think there's a little bit, just a tad of indulgence in the struggling artist aesthetic, and maybe some deliberate obscurity about their income and success, and until maybe you go more inside baseball, you may not account for the fact that, like, yeah, they're like a video game Let's Player. They make a video every day, nothing gets striked, and they get 900,000 views per day. And it's a little distracting. And I think it's very healthy to, you know, disassociate from being a traditional, quote, writer, because you may not be struggling with some of the things that come with that. But ideally, we just live in a world where the trials and tribulations currently associated with being a writer just don't exist anymore. And once they're gone, all the other writers get to stay writers as well. It's not only hardship. It's not only working with Netflix that gives you like the validation.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do the game.
I wonder. I mean, okay, what I will say is, Jarvis, you had with one, I think you get a mulligan, right? If you slip one up, you get to do it again.
Yeah.
You had a perfect game. You did guess all of them.
I'm built different though.
Oh yeah. You're a soy cuck beta.
Yes. I'll be failing this the entire time.
I just think it's fun because it feels like they all shouldn't exist.
Okay, so can I ask, like, is there a percentage of a true to fake ones?
Yeah, he'll give you
So there are 3 chunks.
Okay.
Some would call them segments. I would call them chunks. British.
Okay.
Let's say rounds.
Okay.
Let's say chunks.
Okay. Keep it chunks. This is a new world.
I will burn this show to the ground.
It's already happening.
These are some of the most popular network TV shows.
Okay.
Which is a odd thought, because I think it's like, especially as maybe content creators, or, you know, we're all young as fuck. We're like, you know, like young creators.
I just learned to drive.
I was born in 1990. You know what I'm saying? No, I was born in the late 70s.
I was born in the 2000s, dude. 9/11, what's up?
I wasn't
born.
But you wouldn't hear about it. What?
Something happened.
Yeah, wow. We should probably not be doing this. We have to discuss with Jarvis the terrible tragedy.
What?
Yeah.
To be honest, if I want to pull up a few more for the next time we play this game, there's probably just a whole contingent of 9/11 movies I could frame.
Sure.
But these are network TV shows, all but my fake titles are ranked amongst the most popular. That's how I ended up finding them.
Okay.
A couple spin-offs. A lot of these, you'll start to see a trend of titles, things that maybe grab the algo. It's definitely got the worst X or Y YouTube algorithm approach, like whatever hit last time.
Yes.
TikTok's gone weird. You know, one of those. Okay.
That was the title of my last video, but okay.
Wiki.
It has gone weird. Shit.
So, and I'm actually crushing it, so relax.
Yeah, relax. 900 views a day. 900 whole views.
Yeah, baby.
It's $1 a video, $1 a view, I believe.
Yeah.
We have in this first chunk. Seethe.
Like
Cope.
great.
Cope.
We have 1 fake.
Okay.
Second turn will be 2 fakes. Third, we'll also have 2 fakes.
Okay.
Round 1. Oh, sorry. You should do the theme song. I almost forgot.
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of shows that get a lot of views, and this is, except for there's 1 fake.
In the
It's a
first
perfect-
Where is it?
There you go.
Yep.
That's great.
Where is the fake?
Section 1. Special Ops. Rescue Special Ops. Special Ops Mission. Special Ops Online. Special Ops Lioness. And Special Ops Crime Squad UK.
Oh man. I feel like it has to be. I want it to be Special Ops Online as the fake one, but I don't think it is.
Just when you look at all these shows, do
Yeah.
you think, man, they've done it again? What are these on Fox? I don't even know.
Oh yeah. Well,
I will say a lot of these are evenly spread across the networks, which I think maybe just speaks to the generic success.
Yeah,
of them.
true.
I personally think it would be the funniest if the Special Ops was the fake one. If all of the other spin-offs, they just a spin-off to fake show. I think it's Special Ops Mission. I think that's the one that's fake.
Would you like to go orange, which is the term they use on British Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, because the little thing turns orange? Would you say it?
Yes, that's
right.
what I'd like to go orange.
It's Special Ops Online, you stupid asshole.
You had it. You almost
I was
trusted your
right.
gut.
I faked myself out.
Lioness is real, by the
Yeah,
way.
sure.
we got obsessed with looking into Special Ops Lioness.
It has to be okay. Here's my pitch. If someone were to be like, here's the show title that we have,
Right,
pitch
right,
off
right.
of it. It's based on one of the female agents from a former thing who had the nickname Lioness, and she's super cool, and it's watching her as she goes and does her special ops mission.
I mean, pretty much
maybe.
right on the money.
Okay.
It's like a real show with like
It stars
actors.
extremely famous actors, like Samuel L. Jackson. Is
What?
in it. Yeah. Who's the Lioness? It's like someone extremely famous.
Is it Zoe Saldana?
Is Zoe
gosh.
Saldana? Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
Zoe
God.
Saldana is the Lioness.
Morgan
I'm sorry,
Freeman.
Zoe.
Morgan Freeman's in it.
Morgan Freeman? What?
Nicole Kidman, of course, of AMC fame.
Is here? That
Yeah.
can't be right.
Yeah, no, none of it feels real at all.
Well,
Oh, we also watched the trailer, and it is truly one of the most like, actually, you could be in the CIA because some people just wear Oakleys. Some people wear Oakleys, but they're also allowed to shoot minorities.
that's it. That's the
kinda
rules.
It's actually kind of sick, and torture works.
And hey, Zoe Saldana's one of you guys. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Incredible.
It's
Well,
based on the trailer too. It's all just like, we have to stop terrorist group.
That's great. Is this a Paramount? Is that what I'm seeing? A Paramount Plus? That makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense to me. That seems right. That's where I would say all of the shows that I have heard are pretty good, but also have always said, huh? Whenever it's
Yeah.
been brought up in conversation.
Me and my partner are very committed to. We've always loved Next Generation, watch a lot of Star Trek Next Generation.
It's all on.
And the foundation of us dating was rewatching it together.
That's
just being
great.
like, just a couple of people, a couple of friends watching it. There's nothing weird we're making out.
Yeah.
It's all there. You can just watch all of Star Trek Next Generation. So I am a parasite on her account because it is like truly. So I've browsed the rest a little bit. It's nothing.
Yeah.
They look like if you watch a show and there's a show in the show. What
yeah.
are we doing?
Get a lot
Special
of
Ops
that.
Online we're watching tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
All right, let's do round 2.
Yes.
Jump 2.
Round 2.
Jump
2
2.
fakes this time.
Okay.
The Chicago Code.
Okay.
Chicago Knights. Chicago PD. Chicago Med. Chicago Justice. Chicago Party Ant. Chicago, a cop story.
I have to. I think Chicago Party Ant is the one is one fake. I have to, but that being said, it is the most compelling of the names on there. So I wish it weren't. There's no way Chicago a cop story is real. There can't be.
They have a lot of those.
They gotta.
Yeah, they do have a lot of cops.
Technically, all of these are cops.
Yeah, I was gonna say
There's 2 fakes in this one. Yeah, 2 fakes.
There's 2 fakes. Okay, Party Ants and the Chicago Code. I feel like I could see any of the other ones, maybe. Or am I faking myself out again?
My brain's been broken. All of these are real in my mind.
Yeah. All right, I'm going orange on the 2 that I just said, Party Ant and Chicago Code.
Do you recall which ones they are?
Do I recall? I fucking don't.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I know Party Ant's real though.
You got both and you missed. No. Wait, what were your 2? What was the other one you said? Party and
Code. That one's real.
Chicago Code real. PD,
Mama
Med,
Mia.
Justice, Party and all real. It is Night and a cop story.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did get these.
Nice
right.
is sneaky. I
Nice
was
is
sneaky with
sneaky.
Night.
Yeah, I think I could imagine that. I had hoped it was like a Boogie Nights sort
There's
of vibe.
nothing less believable about the fake ones than Party
Yeah.
Ant or
Party Ant.
Justice.
So Party Ant is, I'm assuming, not related to the police.
No, we looked it up. It's an animated show, I believe,
Oh, okay.
on Netflix.
Oh,
What's
all right.
funny is we could watch it and I won't. I'll die not seeing this for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've
It feels
probably seen
fake.
a screenshot of that at some point, but it
Yeah.
does.
Doesn't this feel like in that like kind of dog shit first episode of the new Black Mirror season? It's like we automatically generated a show called
Yeah.
Chicago Party Ant.
Yeah, that seems right to me.
It's
I
like
think-
a BoJack Horseman
Okay.
show that would like lead into like his show.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it's irreverent as hell.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm sure it's
Oh
sick
yeah,
and
I
twisted.
read this last episode. Diane, aka the Chicago Party Ant, is always the life of the party as she helps neighbors and stays true to her mantras.
That's good. You know,
Yeah.
I'm glad she's staying true to her mantras.
Yeah, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
helps the neighbors.
And that, that's a real community right there.
yeah, she's a party, but she's a community.
Yeah.
she's a party.
story.
Yeah, I don't know.
That?
Yeah, that's
It's-
that's enough.
A lot of people. They're just fun and have neighbors.
That's good.
Not much.
It's Friends, but now and animated. That's it. That's the rules.
And
Oh,
maybe
and it
there's someone that's
stars
brown.
it stars John and Ike Barinholtz. I learned from this that
weird.
Ike Barinholtz has a brother.
There you
The
go.
Chicago Party Ant of sorts.
That's great.
It's okay, Brian. It's so fucked up that you failed so much.
I know.
But it's okay. I
I'm
guess.
sorry. I really do need to leave the industry as a writer now.
I
So
take
if
it
I
back.
can't even call him out, that's
You're not a
terrible.
writer anymore.
It's
From
not
this.
wrong. It's the worst.
Jarvis is a writer because he got these right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
that is
awarded.
you get the title now.
Yeah,
We
I'm
can't
the
release-
president of the WGA. Actually, it was pretty sick.
Okay.
Okay.
Final section, 2
Yes.
fakes. Plain sight. Criminal minds suspect behavior.
Okay.
Prime suspect USA. No time, comma, all crime. The closer. Baywatch Nights. Baywatch Surf Police. And Baywatch Forbidden Paradise.
Oh. Two fake in here?
2 fake in here.
Because that's good to know because whichever 2 are fake, I'm going to be pitching as soon as the writers start.
Good sales, honestly. Now's the time to go for Baywatch.
Yeah, I
The
was
property's
gonna
never been bigger.
It's never been hotter. Okay.
Yeah, Baywatch Nights, Surf Police. and
Was one
Forbidden
just called
Paradise.
The Closer?
Yep.
That's I can't tell you if that's real, but it's believable.
The thing is, when I read Baywatch Surf Police, if I didn't understand the concept of Baywatch, I would be imparsible to me. Baywatch Surf Police?
Yeah.
The Baywatch, the surf. It's like, I have no idea what
it
that
seems
means
like
as
the
a
words are in
concept.
the wrong order.
Yeah.
In a universe where surfing's illegal.
Yes. Okay, Baywatch. You know what? I'm going to say it's Surf Police. I feel like Forbidden Paradise and Nights are both possible. I don't know. Now I'm screwed. Now I'm just gonna have to shoot from the hip, I think.
I thought you were gonna. I just have to shoot you guys.
All right, I'm out of here. See
Oh,
ya.
I'll tell you which ones they are.
Yeah,
It's not that important.
yeah. All right, I think it's it's gotta be No Time, All Crime. Please say that one's the fake one, and also Surf Police. I think those are the two.
W. Brian, you're right.
Oh,
This is
God.
a redemption.
Forbidden Paradise is real.
I knew it. I was gonna say they have to have the spinoff that is just mostly about the hot people making out, right?
Could you look at Baywatch Forbidden Paradise? We didn't check what it was
Also,
last time.
Criminal Minds: Suspect Behavior has the same energy of when I want to make a video about a topic I've already made a video about, but I need a different title. Like, and I don't know how to, like, 2 is not a thing I can say.
Oh, this is a movie.
What? Baywatch the movie. Forbidden Paradise.
Wow, this doesn't. Oh, it's still got Hasselhoff in it, right? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Of course. All right. For them.
Baywatch lifeguards Mitch, CJ, Stephanie, Caroline, Matt, and Logan. That's a big cast. Travel to I don't know how to say that.
Oahu. There's a typo.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ohio is how they pronounce it.
Ohio, Hawaii.
Ohio, Hawaii. What?
Also, just actually real quick shout out. There are like devastating wildfires in I want to say Maui right now.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
And so I've donated to a couple of the funds, but we'll try to link some good ones.
Yes.
If we can. And just, sending everybody there our love and energy, and everyone's in our thoughts. Here's a random question. I feel like a lot of the Unraveled episodes, you were in some form of pain that you were kind of putting yourself through, and that's part of the appeal.
Yeah.
Was there anything that was like a particularly difficult slog?
There were some that were sloggy, but just in a like things had I kept hitting roadblocks with it. Specifically, the Kirby episode was I had originally planned to basically I was planning to finish it like way faster than I had. I was not planning for it to be a longitudinal video where I change hairstyles and everything by the end of it. But it was one of those things that like, and I don't know, I really love the episode, but I also think that like one of the things that that episode specifically, I really had to grapple with how explicit do I want my subtext to be? Because like, I think I got not a ton of people, but I had some people who were like, when you're talking about how Kirby is this stupid little orb, it's like, and that therefore can't be powerful, right? I had a lot of people who were like, hey, that feels a little ableist. That feels like there could be some stuff there, which I can like understand. But I also, when I was making it, the whole point was that me as Unraveled Brian was this narcissistic asshole, right? Who believed that the only way you can have power is through intelligence, right? And like what we were talking about at that time with one of my coworkers was like the way that a lot of people will watch people like Donald Trump do something very stupid, and they'll be like, well, he's playing 4D chess. He's really being smart about it. Actually, when you think about it, he peed there, and that means something else was going to happen, right? It's like, no, he just did something bad, right? Like he's just an idiot. And he somehow has a lot of
Occam's
power.
razor is the simplest explanation.
Exactly.
Because the issue is if you accept that he's an idiot, then your last 5 years of advocacy for him, you were wasted.
Exactly.
Gambler's fallacy. You're in now, right?
And so I think that was the thing with Kirby specifically, is that like we were trying to thread that needle. I don't know if I hope we got pretty close to talking about the fact. Also, the other thing I wanted to talk about was like the idea that every story needs to have a dark theory behind it. Every like cute fun thing actually has a dark undertone, right? Like that's the go-to, and it's like, well, Kirby's a god and all that stuff. And I love to see those theories. They're fun to watch and they're fun to see.
It's silly because it's just like Sakurai, just like he's doing a thing.
Yeah, he's just having fun with it, and he's making a cool game, and I think it's great. And like, I think that's what I wanted to land on, was like sometimes a thing can just be a thing, and like that's a hard thing to get to, especially when you're trying to like weave these other metaphors around, is to be like, to make the ending. Sometimes it just is the thing, and is not very. It's not very conclusive in that sort
the exact
of way.
inverse of what you're told you should do.
Exactly, right? And so that one, I think we had some troubles with that, especially, and also it was just like scheduling issues. Like we had plans to do it in one day, and then we like ran out of time at a certain point, and then we had to like book some other time. But it was. I'm still like very happy with a lot of the things that we did in it, but I think it's a struggle through all of it, where I think that was at the end of Unraveled. I still felt that way too, which was like there's a certain point where the thing that I was not like trying to rail against, but trying to talk about was this idea of fan ownership over the thing that they've invested in, right? And the ways that can turn into toxicity, where you are like, I am so invested in Halo novels and I love it, and no one else could be as smart as me. And like, you know, I make a joke in that video in the Halo one about how I was like, I should be the one that writes the Halo, right? And like that was like, you know, if I were to write on the show, I'm sure I would have had fun and whatever, but like that was not the point. That was not me like actually pitching that. That was me talking about to the fans who are like, no, I've invested the time and I deserve it. And it's been very tough now seeing after the Halo show came out. I have not watched it. I've heard it's not great, but I also have not watched it, so I can't really speak about it. The amount of people who've been like, you're right, Brian, you should have been the one to write it. You're the one who should. And it's like, that was not the point of the video that I was saying.
You're the best at Halo.
Yeah, is like the point is that the thing that you invest your time in can feel so important to your identity that occasionally you feel like you need to close it off from other people in order to keep it safe. And I think that that's where a lot of nerd culture, if I 100%. Could call it that, all of that gatekeeping stuff, all of the toxicity stems from that thing where it's like, in high school, I didn't have a lot of friends, or like I didn't connect with a lot of people, but I did have this comic book. And now this comic book is super popular, but these people don't like me. That must be because they're not real fans. Yeah. They're the ones who are bastardizing
They weren't in the trenches reading the comics. They just know these bastardized Marvel movie versions of the story.
Exactly. We all deal with our own self-conscious feelings and everything, and I think that comes down to that feeling of like, I like a thing, you like a thing, but you don't like me, and that means that you don't like the thing, as opposed to there's something about me that is a problem.
Right, because it's more comforting that way. It's like you're trying to like resolve this cognitive dissonance or whatever, and the easiest thing is not I have flaws, I'm wrong, or someone just doesn't like me. But it's no, it's all of you.
Yeah. And so that, I think, was those were the moments when it would like, again, the actual work of it. Reading the Halo novels was its own slog in its own right, as I was just listening to audiobooks at 2 times speed. But like I think the bigger stuff was more just like am I actually in doing Unraveled, am I getting across the point that I'm trying to get across, or am I just becoming the thing that I'm trying to talk about?
Sure. Right.
Which is always a hard thing.
That's fair. Yeah, it's interesting because there is always, this is just a thing I've learned on the internet. It's like, don't read the comments, right? There will always be the most superficial, like missing the point take on something. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's valid. You know what I mean? But it will exist. You know what I mean? All of the lowest hanging fruit like takes are going to be in the comments, and they're going to be the most upvoted because the people who've thought the most about the thing are not the people writing the comments. They're, the people who have done the thing and are now like, you've processed and synthesized and sort of done so over and over again.
Yeah. And you also, anybody providing a take has a take and is willing to write it in a YouTube comment section. Someone might have legitimate criticism. You can go, charitably criticism, as opposed to dislike. Yeah. But leaving a YouTube comment is like writing something in your own shit. As soon as you are doing it at all, you've almost already invalidated the thing that you're trying to say. Yeah. And people have take poisoning. Like the first one you find is the most gratifying because you can write it right now. You don't have to think about that position. And then you reply and you're like, what do you mean? It's like, I'm actually a huge fan.
Elon is now, paying people for impressions on X, and it's on Twitter. God, I just said X. But the funniest thing about that is all it incentivizes is for someone to get as many impressions as possible, which is to just have the take that causes as much interaction.
Yes.
Which is a ridiculous way to that was already a problem when you were just rewarding it with interactions.
But, rage clicks have been monetized for a while, and this is time it's like, okay, explicitly though, rage clicks. We want those specifically.
You don't even need to pivot them to something else.
No.
Like a YouTube channel
look
called,
at
like,
it's fine.
It's one of those YouTube guys that's got like a Greek photo as their profile called the skeptical individual, the thinking man's Chad. You ever noticed how women it's their fault?
Yeah. Have you thought about that?
Are you feeling lonely? No.
And that's actually science.
Incorrect.
Don't look that up. All right.
I got calipers and I checked women's heads and it turns out they're mean.
Yeah, the skeptical phrenologist. So I think that about wraps us up for this main episode. So thank you so much, Brian, for joining us.
Of course.
We will be hopping over to the Patreon at patreon.com/sadboys for Sad Boys Nights. Sad Boys Special Ops.
It's something of a Forbidden Paradise.
Yeah,
baby.
it's our Forbidden Paradise episode where we gallivant on the beach and we all fall in love. I think we're gonna show Brian that Power Rangers video.
Yes.
And then there's a couple things we didn't get to, like Pokemon Worlds this past weekend, which was fun. I think all of us here have learned to drive later in life or have relearned to drive. I think maybe Anastasia was telling me, like, you going from New York to LA, it's like, now I'm in a driving place.
Yep. For sure.
And then there's also some subreddit. So who knows? It's going to be a grab bag, a bit of a potpourri.
Talk about some emotional stuff even.
Nice. Who knows?
Mayhaps.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about that. Well, we kind of did, but we didn't.
We talked around it. We talked about things that elicit emotions.
That's true, yeah. And our emotions about things, but never diving deep. So who knows? Yeah. Sad Boys Nights. Get into it. But Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
What's up? What you got going on?
Yeah.
Not much. No, I'm still trying to make videos. Haven't made a couple in the past few months, but hopefully we'll have something out at the end of August at least. But
do you have a thing that's
I got other things that I can't speak about. So, but yeah, working on stuff, and I'll be around on the internet.
The dark
I guess.
secrets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We end every episode of Sad Boys with a particular phrase.
We love you.
And we're sorry.
It's a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers cosplayer.
I think it's just like a dad who's a fan of Power Rangers. He bought a cosplay that ended up taking like 5 years to arrive. And then he tried it on and is clearly disappointed, but doesn't let it show.
Gucci girl, how you doing? How you moving, girl? Moving, girl. How's your day looking? That future girl, yeah, we on now. Take my money, go away, all you want it. Girl, too rich for me.